11:30:19 process of elimination. I have a friend who occasionally makes insightful comments about my writing. He understands the creative process in general, and he knows how to talk to artists. I use the word art a lot to describe what I do. My friend sent me a comment the other day responding to a segment of mine that he enjoyed. See how talented he is in viewing creative work? He didn't call my entry a post. Of course not. He knows this is something different than the usual blog. He didn't use the word that I often use, piece, a word I have been dissatisfied with. He knows that although what I write can be read independently as separate pieces, they are all parts of a whole. My blog is the piece, a narrative of sorts, certainly not chronological or plot driven, but a narrative nonetheless that follows my progress as a person and the progress of the world from my limited perspective, my limited, human, fallible, certainly not omniscient perspective, my limited, human, fallible, certainly not omniscient, transforming, and transformational perspective. My friend, in his comment responding to that particular segment of mine that he liked very much, provided just about as good a definition of my art and my process as I can currently imagine. He was describing the work of another writer that he thought shared some similarities with me. Here's what my friend wrote. When asked if he wrote for others or wrote for himself, he responded with a quote. To write for myself would be narcissistic. To write for others would be pandering. And something like, I write to liberate the ideas inside me that must be born. And I paraphrased with only vague recall. But it was jolting. Again, it was a beautiful and truthful, authentic segment. Best. My friend had previously bemoaned my obscurity. I use social media as a means of self-publishing. Many of my connections on social media are from my distant, ill-fitting past life in show business. My friend was troubled by what he considered fewer likes for my work than what he considered inferior work. The work of others that he perceived as more popular than mine was not only written by show business professionals, it was and is show business itself. Show business is pandering. Repeat. The essence of show business is pandering, finding what works with the audience. I'm not in competition with those entertainers. I do something completely different. It took me a long time to discern the difference between me and the colleagues that I never meshed with very well anyway. But I finally made it. I'm an artist. I don't pander to the audience. I write to liberate the ideas inside me that must be born. My process is very painful. I write to burn out pain. The pain is born in innocence and sometimes festers with a cancerous ignorance. My ideas are released from me like fetuses that have come to term, or cancers that must be expelled so that I must survive. I write with the knowledge that I'm not so different from anyone else, that we all have shared human experience, inflected by our different natures and history, but all variations on a theme. I have suffered two unexpected losses recently. My arts are writing and by extension spoken word, which is really just reading my writing, and teaching. I haven't had an income in 15 months. It has been the most productive time of my life. I'm looking for three things in the work that I do for income and actually in every other aspect of my life. One, I can only do my work. I have a specific way of teaching and writing that I have developed. In higher ed, curriculum is formed by committees. Corporate college, schools have become corporations. Education comes in far behind profits and bureaucracy. Have managers called deans who check off boxes which satisfy marketing, finance, future employment training objectives, everything but the student's human development. I'm not generalizing. I worked for 5 years at UIC and have interviewed and communicated with dozens of other schools since then. They are all the same. They are all initially very excited to speak with me, but eventually don't know what to do with me. It's my fault. I go too far. I actually educate people. A young woman was killed at UIC, a pretty 18-year-old murdered in a parking structure at 1:30 on a Saturday morning. She was found alone in her car. One of the courses I taught was called Freshman Orientation. I hated teaching it. It was a kind of an insult that they assigned it to me. See insults below. I ignored the bullshit lesson plans they pushed upon me. For example, proper professional dress, as if an ad agency had the same cultural dress as a law firm. It was all worthless activity, bean counting for accreditation committees. Teaching is more a spiritual vocation than teaching is more a spiritual vocation than an intellectual one. I can only teach what I know how to do, think, feel, and write and talk about it. I used to give this essay assignment to the freshmen, the two fears. I asked them to write about the fear that they feel when they're facing potential danger and the fear of failure when they are facing opportunity. I didn't give them any tips or codes. They wrote, they gave speeches based upon what they wrote, and they talked to each other and to me about what they wrote. Experience, observe, reflect, apply. I taught my students the process of this blog, how to thoughtfully create a life. Not narcissistic writing for oneself, the students taught each other. Each student had different gifts and insights. I think that girl who was murdered might still be alive if she had taken my class. We talked about their lives in my class, and their lives were often dangerous and surrounded by violence. A naive girl would have heard a little about the perils of parking structures at 1:30 a.m. There is precious little of what I teach at UIC. There is precious little of what I teach, either at UIC or any other school I've engaged with. A school should have many learning objectives. I have taught courses a little more substantive than freshman orientation. A school should socialize and impart complex skills and knowledge to students. But in all of its tasks, it should be concerned with human development. I wasn't the only good teacher at UIC, but there were just a few of us, and we got, or will get, drummed out eventually. Students aren't the only people who need to concentrate on human development. Everyone does. So I met with this very nice guy who teaches soft skills to corporations, law schools, and law firms. I had done a little of this type work, a bare beginning, before I worked at UIC. My generous friend gave me a lot of practical advice about how to start a little practice doing this type work. I got a little bit of entrepreneurial training. I talked to a lot of firms and businesses. Again, there was a lot of initial enthusiasm for what I had to offer. I'm well credentialed and a good writer. But I lost enthusiasm for these people. I'm not generalizing, they never. I spent months talking to these people. They literally are all the same. They combine a belief that they know a lot more about creativity than they do. The truly creative person reveres artistic process as a mystery. Have you ever wondered why so many books, movies, songs, and paintings, etc., are about people struggling, about people learning something or changing? These people are too smug to learn what art can teach them. A few are very artistic, but they are outliers and usually not long for their professions or stuck for years of unhappiness within them, with an unwillingness to put in the time and effort to make any progress at all. The last marketing call I made to one of these professionals was a coffee meeting with the chief operating officer of a major law firm with offices all over the country. He had the words artist and innovator written all over his LinkedIn page. He cried in my presence about the passing of his father, who died 20 years earlier. The guy was pushing 50, but he carried himself like a high school sophomore with gray hair. And he informed me that artwork could be done for his partners an hour or two or three a month. They were too busy with their billable hours to work on human development. Maybe that was the reason he didn't get around to processing his grief related to his father's death, and could speak with any adult perspective about his dad, but sounded like a sentimental 50s sitcom. His father always knew best. Usually, I am empathetic. I'm glad people feel comfortable crying in front of me, but this guy left me cold. Materialism and sentimentality are not my things. Refrain. 1. I can only do my work. I have a specific way of teaching and writing that I have developed. So corporate college and business and the professions are out. 2, I have to be respected and well treated. I've told myself and I've been told that I am too sensitive. I've been told that envy is just a part of competition, that condescension and meanness comes from the bosses on any job. You have to take some guff and eat a little shit to make a living. But I hate the disrespect so much. I think more than most everyone does. I can't abide it. I've had a suspicion, which has now grown into a belief, that I hate the bullying for more than personal reasons. It's wrong. It's not true. All men and women are created equal. All men and women can't flourish without an inner sense of equality. Once they have that, they want the outer sense of equality too. I don't do my best work when I am being ridiculed and hassled. Plus, and ultimately, it's my right to be respected as a human and specifically as an artist. I have demonstrably good work. Disrespect is an expression of a variety of base things: arrogance, ignorance, jealousy, insecurity, malice, misguided and misdirected love, fear, and the need to control. Whatever the source of disrespect, I'm just sick of disrespectful people. I'm 64 years old, and I'm quite cranky regarding this point. There are limits, grave ones, to my compassion. I want to be happy. I can't suffer these fools anymore. Refrain. 2, I have to be respected and well treated. 3, no more stupid punishments. I've been punished too often for doing the right thing. I've been punished for being smarter and more effective than other people. I have to work with people who have the same level of character, talent, and intelligence that I do. This is a tough requirement to meet because I am likely in a high percentile in those categories. But those people are out there. I know it. I know some. I need to engage people of the same caliber. Refrain. 3. No more stupid punishments. Refrain. I have suffered 2 unexpected losses recently. Oh, yes, the losses. 2 friends that I dearly loved, one in show business, one in higher ed. The higher ed person tells me that 15 months is a long time not to work. I've never worked harder. I just don't have an income. She says that I'm too much of a maverick. I should just get a job and do what is assigned by the curriculum committee. She says that I get too angry when I'm disrespected and insulted. She foolishly thinks that I could conform to her prescriptions for success. She believes that I am unrealistic and can never find what I want. I have no idea how to find what I want. I suspect that I just have to be open to it, and I'll see it at the appropriate time. She lives in a self imposed prison, worrying about money when she is comparatively well off, addicted to the praise of people who exploit her like a piece of office equipment, ignorant of the possibilities beyond her tiny world. I really loved her, but destiny is more powerful than individual love. My love would turn rancid if I incarcerated myself in her air conditioned nightmare. The other friend is in show business. He liked my funny writing. He says I'm unsuccessful. He encourages me to get over instead of get to the truth. I am not of the same occupation as my friend and haven't been for decades. I learned some craft as an entertainer and use it now as I do something else. Art. He can't be friends with someone not of his occupation. It's such a shame. I think he has something more fine within him, and my pursuit of a similar thing threatens him. Each of these friends unsuccessfully tried to convert me to their point of view. When they knew that they failed, they iced me. They tried to pressure me to abandon and violated my 3 goals. Refrain. 1. I can only do my work. I have a specific way of teaching and writing that I have developed. Refrain. 2. I have to be respected and well treated. Refrain. 3. No more stupid punishments. Refrain. I have suffered 2 unexpected losses recently. I innocently didn't expect the creative process, making art, to lead to personal losses of the type that I described. But here we are. It did. I know from my experience, this isn't Pollyanna time, that every time the world splits in two, it subsequently gets bigger. Copyright 2019, Richard Thomas.